Okay, the most obvious question could be is how does this all begin? But if it were to be left in the unknown state and to rather explore the context of what has been described as the infinite state of hell, but within this context, there would have to be a much broader exploration to it to have some form of equal understanding of what it all basically means. So, within that, it would be reflecting on what has been described as the infinite state of divine origination, whereby it would also be acknowledging that there was once an infinite state of truth, and within this infinite state of truth is an infinite amount of knowledge. But again, without there being any emotional sense to it, this knowledge is seemingly just questionable and just has no flow of direction to it. So this has also been described as the state of darkness, of dark knowledge. So within that context, it would also be reflecting that if darkness has been described as the state of nothingness, nothingness has also been described as the infinite state of peace. So truth and peace are within one infinite state. And this has been described to be within the 12th dimensional realm, spiritual dimensional realm. But descending further would be acknowledging that by some miraculous, magical, mystical way, a pierce of light burst through this darkness as the infinite state of love. And it somehow gave this dark knowledge a flow of direction, a flow of purpose, a flow of meaning, a flow of reason. And this has been described, this piercing has been described to be within the 11th dimensional realm. And within this knowledge, having some purpose, meaning, and reason, it is growing within this infinite state of love, whereby increasing the vibrational energy of this infinite state of life to create the divine source of emotional consciousness. And again, this has been described to be within the 10th dimensional realm. Descending further would be reflecting on the universal consciousness, the collective group emotional consciousness, which again has been described to be within the 8th dimensional realm. And descending further would be acknowledging the 6th dimensional realm, of which has been described as the state of Gaia, earthly collective emotional group consciousness. From that comes us, insects, birds, fish, animals, all existing life as a spiritual being, an emotional spiritual being. But again, knowing that we have also come from the infinite state of truth, we are in existence within this emotional sense of knowledge as well. But this emotional sense of knowledge has been described as this of state of awareness, where this is our natural selves. Now, from the 5th dimensional realm of the singular emotional consciousness, we descend further into the 4th dimensional realm, where it has been described that thought consciousness comes to attach to the emotional consciousness. But now, if we are in existence with a state of awareness, we have to equally understand that if thought consciousness has been described to be associated with the vibrational energy of matter, this would be acknowledging that this thought consciousness is initially the ego sense, whereby with this ego sense also comes to influx our emotional spiritual being with massive vibrational energy, and comes to allow us to exist within the 3rd physical descriptive state of existence, with both the ego sense and with our emotional consciousness. So, with that being said, if I were to explore our emotional consciousness within the state of meditation, and it has been described that we are to physically close our eyes and release our ego sense. So we are able to explore our imagination with the state of awareness. This would also be describing this releasing of the ego as the fourth thought emotional dimensional realm, right? But on a psychedelic basis, if a person were to consume a psychedelic and they were struggling to come into this imaginative state of the singular emotional consciousness, which again is within the fifth dimensional realm, it has been described that our emotional sense would manifest these fearful beings for our emotional consciousness to overcome so we can explore the fifth dimensional realm. But again, this within our aspects, again, would be acknowledging that nightmares are also to be described as the fourth dimensional realm of fear. I mean, if the ego is based on a description of how we come to experience sadness, and sadness and fear are in one basic context. It is the ego that has come to distinguish this knowledge for us to experience these senses within the physical state and with beyond the physical state if we were to explore it within the psychedelic experience. So on that context, to explore the description of hell would be to reflect on the Babylonian scriptures, whereby this has been described that there was once a serpent that came to a king and mated with a king, conceived two princes. The serpent felt that the king had become weak, killed the king, basically wanted to mate with another king. The two original sons found out, cut the serpent up, basically planted the serpent's tail into the ground, ate the middle section, and scattered the head into the atmosphere. But again, this would be acknowledging that the head is the fourth spiritual dimensional realm, and us, or these people eating the serpent, is the ego, and it being buried into the ground is what ego has come to create as a physical descriptive state of reality. And acknowledging this, that a reality is more of a materialistic basis, whereby acknowledging that the matter vibrational energy is on a high, and whereby the emotional, spiritual vibrational energy is on a low. And within the course of reality, we have seen war, we have seen poverty, and again, we have also seen depression. If we were to describe a thought path, creative life, this would be acknowledging that the ego sense could also be described as a psychopath, knowing that the emotions do exist, but it is so self-centered that it is all other emotions are null and void. Whereby a spiritual path is more of an emotional path, whereby this is creating a life from our emotions, a natural life, not a reality-based life. Again, in our course of time, we have seen global warming happening more and more and more since, I mean, if you had to go back to the year 2000, the Mayan prediction, which again was the ending, but that distinguishing was made on such a vast yet limited capacity of knowledge. And if we had to reflect on the ending as change, of course, it could be reflected as the change of the end. I mean, if Anton LaVey, the, the founder of the Satanic Church, has come to describe Satanism as the worship of materialism, capitalism, and socialism, we have to understand that we as an ego or within a reality and continuously living like this would be a satanic root of evil, so to speak, according to the founder of the Satanic Church. And if we were to continue living like this would be increasing our vibrational energy of matter. And if we were to increase the vibrational energy of matter, this would be reflecting on the state of reincarnation, whereby our emotional vibrational energy would be on such a low that we wouldn't be able to transcend further into this, would transcend back to the divine source of divine state of origination. And again, reincarnation, with the increased vibrational energy of matter, we would be returning back to a physical descriptive state as possibly a bug, possibly as a fly, possibly as some animal that really has to come into an emotional state to transcend when it actually passes from this earth. Whereby if it were to reflect on our dying days and the reason for suffering of why people come to suffer, and can actually only be reflected as a basic wake-up call of forgiveness and apology, whereby it's forgiving all the people that have done us wrong and apologizing for all the things that we've done. And if this has been seen as a notion of love, it again is releasing ourselves from this ego and coming into the state of awareness and coming into the state of our natural selves as a spiritual being while being on this planet. So when we actually transcend unto pass on from this life, we will be returning unto the source. And we can only reflect on people that have suddenly left this earth within the notion that there is a possibility that they return back to the source, or that they transcend back onto the natural plane or onto the physical plane. I mean, on a broader perspective, if we had to reflect on the source of knowledge from a reality basis, this could be reflected on a government. And it's again governments that have caused wars, poverty and depression, materialism, capitalism, socialism. And if we are continually ignoring this knowledge, what is to become of us? Whereby if we're to explore our knowledge from our emotional sense, from the divine infinite state of truth, where the knowledge has been given guidance through the state of infinite love, it's obviously that there is a direction of life. There is a direction of happiness within the physical plane. And if it is to be acknowledged in this aspect, it could be realizing that Earth has been described as, or the physical state could be described as purgatory. And our nightmares and bad trips are all just things for us to realize what we are doing and what we are part of and what we are supporting on a reality basis, for us to overcome it to our natural selves, so we can become better people, happy people, peaceful people, loving people, people that create possibilities, people that believe in freedom. And if that is within equal understanding, Namaste.